The stream today is a special day. We are playing a game that is probably my favorite game right now. It's my favorite type of game, and that my favorite type of game is here it is. You ready? Puzzles. I like puzzles, but I love mazes. For some reason, the maze games are really good. I like a nice maze. I like a nice marble, right? So then you're talking about the game Marble Trap. That's what you must be talking about. And that is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the game Marble Trap. It's simple but fluid. Like, that's the key thing to it. It's a fluid game. It's a maze game, like it's an actual maze, and then you've got like cannons shooting at you. This basically tells story. If you look at the picture up here on Marble Trap, that tells the story, and you might say to yourself, that's pretty simplistic. Yeah, that really works though. And I'm just in a great mood. I got a lot of really good rest. I needed it, and I feel great. So this is going to be the final stream of the day. And the final stream of the week. Because I actually didn't even stream today. What I'm really trying to say is, I really needed that sleep, and we got it, and we did good. Did a bunch of stuff today. Feel good. I cooked. I was able to get a lot of sleep. I got some laundry done. It was just a lot of stuff to do for Van Pebble on a Thursday to get ready for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday big work. 3 days of big work. Not very much sleep. Lots and lots of just being awake. And then I basically get off on Monday actually, and then from there it's like we slowly catch up throughout the week of all that craziness of not sleeping and just being awake for long hours, taking a lot of caffeine. So we're figuring it out. We're constantly figuring out the best way to do it. This was a pretty good week, I thought. So let's get right into it, guys. We've talked enough. I mean, let's face it. We've talked enough. Let's play Marble Trap, and thank you for joining us today. Very happy, in a good mood. I've been in a great mood all week. I'm always in I'm generally a pretty good mooded guy. I'm mooded up. Moody. Moo. All right. There it is, folks. Oh. The great Marble Trap, one of the great games of our time. And the beauty of this is we're on level 43, which you would think, like, that's a lot of levels. There's like 100 levels in this game. It's a beautiful game. Let's get into it, guys. Boom. We don't want loud music. We want it to be kind of chill so that we can talk and think and hang. There's just something about this game. There's a feel to this game that is it's semi-quiet, which I like. I keep the volume down pretty low. So that's just a personal preference. But then there's the movement of it. It feels really good on my fingers. It's good too because you can backtrack pretty easily. There comes the guitar. Alright, here we go. As a matter of fact, yeah, a little more volume than normal. Let's get into it here. I mean, if there was right now, if you were to ask me, like, Fan Pebble, what do you think is the perfect game? Like, let's say like somebody interviewed me, like a high school kid. And somebody that actually happened to me in my senior year of high school. For some reason, this girl wanted to interview me for her class. I didn't even know her. She was kind of cute, I guess. It wasn't really that kind of thing. She was just like, I think it's because I slept a lot in my senior year, and people thought I knew something that I didn't really know. I wasn't even smoking pot or anything in my senior year of high school. My senior year of high school, I was basically like, we're done. We pretty much gotten all the credits we needed, and I just took really stupid classes for the most part. I just didn't care. I was ready to just do what I was going to do, which turned out to be the military. Join the military after high school. And so this girl, she was like, I want to interview you for my class. Oh man, that sucks. Okay. That's not the interview. The interview was cool. Basically, I just went to her. I think it was, I want to say it was my class. So she was in my class. So it wasn't like I went to a different class. And she just started interviewing me, asking me my favorite, like, music and all this kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure it was pretty disappointing because I really was just a guy that slept a lot in high school. Like especially not in high school, but my senior year, I was so bored. Like I said, I was so over high school that by the time senior year came around, I went to a different school in my senior year too. So I was able to kind of go with like a new identity a little bit. I mean, it wasn't like I looked crazy. We didn't have like, the emo look wasn't as crazy as it is now. So it's not like I had like an emo look. I just had a regular, I didn't have any look. I was, I mean, honestly, I don't even know why people, but a lot of people thought like, this guy's cool. And like I said, I slept throughout most of my classes. I put my head down on the desk. And a lot of people, I think a lot of people thought I was smoking pot. So that's why people thought I was cool, probably. Like, he's cool. Because I remember some of the guys, like there was one guy that was a football player who thought I was cool. He just was like, yeah, man, he's cool. And he loved to smoke pot. And I never really enjoyed pot. Like, it never did much for me. And it still doesn't really do anything except just make me more tired. You know what I mean? So I would go hang out with this guy. His name was Scott. I would call him Scotty McGotty. And he always thought that was funny. And I'd go to this guy's house in high school. He was a nice guy. He was a cool guy. He wasn't like weird. There was no weird homoerotic stuff that a lot of football players do. He was a cool person. But he just thought like, hey, this guy's cool. And I was not even like really into sports at that time. I think I joined the wrestling team. I think I did join the wrestling team actually. But it was just because like, I thought, I don't know. I don't think I realized that I had given up and that high school was over for me. I was done. I was basically an adult who was just going through the last year. That was it. I didn't like bother anybody. I didn't get in fights with anybody. I had a girlfriend for the whole year. I was like, just give me one girlfriend. That's all I need, just one. She's pretty enough. She was cool. She had a good personality. Everybody thought she was hot. It was a good look. And she was really good girlfriend too. She was really nice to me. But I was gone. Like I was like, I'm not even here, guys. Like don't even. And I did this interview in this class, and I could even see the teacher's eyes rolling. Like, who is this guy? This guy's an idiot. And they were right. I mean, I remember meeting people's parents, and I remember the parents being like, I don't know. I feel like they didn't. I feel like I came across as an adult. I don't think I always wonder too, like, why was Scotty McGotty really friends with me? Because I really didn't offer much teenage friendship. I was more of like a man. Like, I was just mature. I didn't like over talk. I was quiet. Anyway, this game always kind of triggers. I should have grabbed that star. Yeah, there's a lot of memories, you know. I enjoyed high school. I really didn't enjoy it. But I just knew that, you know, we're kids. This isn't going to last forever. And then, like I said, by the time I got to my senior year of high school, Pebble knew it. Like, I knew that it was my time to just enjoy it, and so I basically took everything as peacefully as I could. And so we did try smoking pot a few times. It didn't work out for me because, like I said, it was not really my drug. Like, I probably would have been better off with really nothing. I mean, for me, I always felt good. I always felt pretty good as a sober guy. But for some reason, you know, everybody wants to do drugs in high school. And there was this guy, Scotty McGotty, as I called him, and he was able to get hold of some pot. He was an athlete. He was like a really tall, he was like 6'5", big guy. And he was just a guy who just was sort of sick of it too, actually. I think that's why we're friends, because he was sick of the whole, you know, the whole thing. The whole high school thing. And then I think he saw me as, like I said, I was mature, and I think he enjoyed that aspect of me. And I did end up going, right after high school, I joined the military. And my first base was, after boot camp, was Japan. So that was perfect for me because I was already pretty mature. I was ready to just be a man. And I was ready to, but I really needed all that stuff. I needed to be a man. I needed maturity because I was tired of being a kid. And like I said, now I'm 50. I've done all that stuff. I'm ready to sort of, I don't want to say be a kid again. I want to be the kid. I got it. I know what I want. What we're trying to do here is, or what we are doing, because I think we're succeeding with it, is being the kid that you can be now that you're a man. Now that you're older, you're still a kid. You're always a kid inside your heart, inside your mind. There's always that, like, why do adults enjoy candy? Why don't only kids enjoy candy? Why do I see adults eating ice cream? Why? Because they still have that inside of them, that comfort zone. Damn, this is a tough one. We're gonna get through this one, don't worry. Look at me now. Oh. We still have that comfort zone inside of us that likes ice cream, that enjoys video games. But this time, we're gonna do it better. And I always remember, as a kid, this is weird, but I always felt like, we're not doing this right. Like, I'm not enjoying being a kid. I always felt like, you know what I felt when I was a kid? I'm going to tell you, I remember how I felt. I knew that there was work to be done out there. I knew that I was like 18, 19. I hadn't seen or done shit. And I knew that, like, I had jobs. I had a couple, I think I had like 2 or 3 jobs. My parents made me get work when I was 16. They were like, we're going to make you work, you little fuck. And they made me work. I mean, I worked a lot. But it was all very unsatisfying, and it was all like fast food places, or like this place called Bob's Big Boy, which is a shitty fucking Denny's type of place. It sucked. I mean, it all sucked, and none of it felt like it was going to go anywhere. I worked at a movie theater, and even that sucked. But as I was going through my life, come on, man, we got to make it through this part. Come on! Alright, I'm good. I'm doing good now. Yes, and I always felt like it wasn't enough. Like I had a lot of work ahead of me, and that I wasn't enough. You know, I really did feel that. You know, people go, you're enough. You're enough. You know how people do that? You are enough. I do know that now, but I don't think I was enough. Like, I was a stupid kid. What the fuck did I know? I didn't know anything about work or heartache, like real heartache. Not love, what we call romantic heartache, but heartache of like watching people succeed just because. I remember that being tough. I remember getting jobs. That's what I felt heartache was. I would get jobs and I would be good at the jobs, but I wouldn't get promoted or anything. It was always the person that came in that was like related to somebody, or they were good looking or popular, and that's why. I just remember everything just feeling like that was what heartache was for me. Like the real heartache of being a young person and never being fully respected from the adults. I remember people called me young man and dude and stuff like that until I was basically like 40. I remember somebody going, okay, young man. I remember I was like 38 years old and I was like, how fucking long is this young man bullshit gonna go on? You know what I mean? Like somebody called me dude one time when I was like 40, and I was like, is this ever gonna fucking stop? People calling me bud. Somebody called me bud. Hey bud. Hey bud, you think you could do that for me, bud? He was like talking down to me. Hey bud, what do you think? Hey bud. And I was just like, I'm fucking 40 years old. Like, when is this gonna fucking... And it never really does. But eventually I just got to the point that I'm at, and I'm in a happy place now because I realize I just don't care. Now if somebody calls me dude, I just go, oh, there you go. Call me dude, fine, whatever you gotta call me. Call me whatever you want. Like, I've really... But back to being a kid and feeling like we know now that I'm happy, but nobody cares now that I'm happy. People want to know about like what was it like when you were miserable. It was miserable most of my childhood because I never felt like I was enough. And by the way, I wasn't. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any real life experience. I wasn't very interesting. I can see why girls weren't interested because I had nothing going on. I'm not saying they're interested now, but if they're going to be interested now, it's because I'm me. Like, I'm something now. I just had no real... And I feel like my parents didn't really like... I think they felt the same way. Like, why should we like this guy? I really don't think my parents liked me very much, and it's okay. I don't think I was a bad guy. I just think, truthfully, I wasn't very interesting. I know that sounds terrible, but if you think about it, why should a parent... Now, I think you should love people just because, right? But I sort of give them a pass because if you don't like somebody, you don't if you're not interested in somebody, you're not interested in somebody. You know what I mean? It's not your fault. It's just like, was boring. I wasn't my parents' cup of tea. I'm a guy that gets his kicks from playing Marble Trap. This is the height for me of life. I love this. And that's not interesting to an adult. Why would this be interesting to a parent? To people that have lived and have done things and have gone through things and have had kids and have had, you know, like my parents had children. Like me, I was their child, but like they lived, you know what I mean? And then I come on the scene and I'm boring. I don't do, like, if it's like child and adult time, it was so boring for them. I'm sure I picked boring movies, but I will say that I have pretty good taste. I've always had good taste in movies and music, but yes, I do think that. I do actually think that. In that way, I've always been like a grown-up. And in comedy, I always was like really into like the Canadian stuff and the English, some of the English humor, like, hello now, where you going over there now, dear? You know, where like you had like grown adult men dressing like women and acting like women, and in a funny way. The lumberjack sketch. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night in the dream all day. And I wear a bra. Where's a bra? Like, that was interesting humor for that. Like, I understood that stuff. I thought it was funny. But I do maintain, like, why would an adult be interested? And The bottom line is, we're gonna beat this right now, by the way. We're gonna beat this level right now. You gotta cut me some slack, guys. This is like level 43. That's a lot of... It's a lot of levels. Alright? Take it easy. Damn it, I missed it. Okay, easy. Come on now. You got it, you got it. There you go. That's good. You got this. Whew. So, here's the deal. We're going to continue playing, but I want to start this off. Young kid. Go. Okay. When I was a young kid, I was... I don't want to use the word depressed all the time, but I just always felt like I just wasn't enough. I didn't have a lot of energy as a kid. I played sports, but I quickly ran out of energy like when I was like 14 or 15. I was like, and I realize now I recognize it as some kind of a depression. I was depressed. I don't know why. I can't really blame my parents on that one too much. I think that was just born that way. But, you know, aside from sports, life wasn't very exciting. And I knew that once I became an adult, I was going to be basically a slave, which we all are pretty much slaves to society, no matter where you live. Even in America, man. Even in America, man. You know, the greatest country on earth and all this stuff. So I knew as a young kid that, and I think I always dreaded, I was living in a state of dread that I was going to be thrusted into this world because I had heard horror stories from people that couldn't afford rent. You know, the parents are always worried you're going to become a drug addict, even though I was a kid that didn't even drink, like, caffeine barely. Like, I barely drank soda as a kid, and my parents were always like, don't do drugs, don't do drugs. And like, what are you talking about? Like, when I was a senior, we smoked a little pot. That was it, man. Like, I wasn't a drug guy. Oh. So yeah, the kid, I love going over that thing because my happiest time, I always tell people, was when I was like 10 years old to like 12. Or 8 to 12, like 4 really good years, because sexuality wasn't a thing. I wasn't like sexed up. There was no boners. You didn't think about sex all the time. You just like thought about like cool things that you could do. And from 8 to 12. Now let me continue. Let me continue here. I'm not stuck at that time period. I lived it up. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that time period. I enjoyed like the lack of sexuality. I enjoyed like just enjoying life for the sake of life. But I also enjoyed getting through it. Like, I enjoyed being 13 and 14 and stuff like that. So don't think like, oh, this guy's stuck in that, you know, no. No, I was happy to get out of that. But when I turned like 12 and 13, I did feel like a lack of energy. I felt like, even though I should have been like ready to go run miles and miles, I could never sprint. I was a good long distance runner. But sprinting, I could never get the energy to do it. I don't know, and I don't know if that's has anything to do with depression, or that's just, maybe you're just not a good sprinter. Sometimes you're just not good at things. So that, you know, you can blame. Oh, good, man. That first one was rough, huh? Yeah, 10 years old. I remember just being an age that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed being like 10. There was a lot of cool stuff in the 80s at that time, musically, like Genesis, and like, there was this really good music going on in the 80s. I know people like don't realize, but like MTV was in its heyday in the 80s, and there's a reason, because it was just... And you gotta think about this too, and this goes into being, this is an odd thing to admit, but like, everything that was cool, like stand-up comedy, was cool back in the 80s. Music, videos, movies. It all had been said and done by the time I was like 12. What was there left for me to do? For me, it was like, well, I guess we'll just work, and that didn't seem very appealing. Like, all the cool jobs were really done to their maxed out ability. Like Eddie Murphy, like the greatest stand-up of all time. By the time I was 12, he had already done like 3 or 4 huge specials. He was a huge movie star, and he was the funniest thing ever. And we've talked about this on other streams, but like, he was black. Like, black guys were funnier than white guys. It was just a thing. You were like, well, he's going to be the funny guy because he's a black guy. Like, there was just, and I don't know if anybody felt this way like that I did. I just felt like, what is there for me to even attempt to do? You know what I mean? So I didn't have any passions growing up. But by the time I was a teenager, I had already been through all this, like, well, there's nothing for me to do. So lots of sleeping. Video games wasn't even really a thing because you had to pretty much get a console to play games back in the 80s. Like, we had consoles, but like, I finally bought myself a Sega Genesis, and that was awesome. I really loved the Sega Genesis. That got me like, when we started getting into games again as we're an adult. I remember the Sega Genesis, and I remember wanting to like go back and sort of relive that again. You know, like, what was that? I remember some of those games. Some great games from Sega Genesis. I don't remember what they were called now. And I remember one of the first things I did was just buy as many cheap consoles as I could, like some of the old PS1 and the GameCube. And we tried to get, like, in my 30s, we started, like, whenever we had time off, 2 days a week we'd have time, we would just play games as much as we could. So yeah, there you go, man. I was a good athlete for a kid. Oh, and I remember this too, when we were kids, there was a time when everybody could compete against each other. Like, when you're like 8, 9, 10, even like for those 4, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you could compete against other kids, and you weren't sure who was going to win the race, you know? But then, like, there was a certain thing that happened. Just, I didn't really grow. I was like 16 years old, 15, 16, and I was 5'5". Like, I wasn't growing for some reason. It's like, why am I not growing? My dad was like 6 foot tall. My dad was like this big guy. And I was just like this skinny 5'5" kid with no energy anymore. I had no energy to do anything. I wasn't like in hospitals, but you couldn't tell by looking at me, but if you wanted to do something, I had energy for like board games, but like if you wanted to go do I was good for an hour. I could play a little catch, play a little football. After that, I was pretty tired. That was it. I've always kind of wanted to get that off my chest, because I think people think, like, look at these kids, they don't know that life's gonna be shit for them. They're just good for them. And honestly, I actually knew. I had a feeling, but from 8 to 12, I think we were good to go. We had the delusions, we had the sunglasses on, we go to the shore every year as kids. Because I'm from Philly. My old man, his father had a house in New Jersey, so we'd go to New Jersey every year, every summer, and it was a real blast. From 8 to 12, just going and getting comic books. All right, we're gonna get better at this here. I always enjoyed summer. I'm actually happy that summer's coming up right now, because I do like summer. All right, this is it. I actually enjoy every season except winter. That's not true because we do enjoy. I like the whole like Christmas time this year. You know, that whole like cozy feeling. Like, let me get a blanket, like a cocoa. You know, I like that cozy feeling for like a month or two. I like the fall. I do like the fall. I love the fall. Love the idea of like the colors, the smells of the leaves on the street. The weather is kind of like, you know, you just came from it being really hot, and all of a sudden you got the fall weather, which is like windy and breezy. I like that. I like the spring, except for me, the spring, it doesn't get, the weather doesn't get hot quickly enough for me in the spring. I need it to be warm quicker. Ah! But I like all the seasons pretty much. Summer is like, you know, I like everything for its own reasons, but obviously the weather is not, it's just so hot sometimes, you know. But I do like this, it's nice that we have different seasons. I mean, thank God for that. But as a kid, I never appreciated that stuff because I wasn't earning any of that stuff. And for some reason, that really bothered me. The fact that, like, the house that I lived in, that was not my house. That was my parents' house. And, like, it always sucked. And my sister was 2 years older. So, like, she was always ahead of everything. She went to school. She was smart, too. So she went to college, like, a year before she was supposed to. So she got to leave the house before my parents got divorced. That was good for her. And she was always like into something. And I always look at my sister as somebody I didn't even know because she was 2 years older than me. So, I mean, I never really got to know her very well. And by the time she went to college, like, I felt like she was like 15. But I think she was like 16 when she went to college. So I never really got to know her. And I never got to know my sister, really, to be honest. She's actually an interesting person from what I understand, but I just never got to know her. It's just the way it went. It was 2 years, man. As a kid growing up, you're always behind girls anyway, you know. Girls grow up so fast. And, you know, my sister was like getting her period and stuff when she was 13. So I was like 11. So my parents kept us away from each other because that's because they thought I was like gonna try to like, I don't know what they, you know. I know they weren't like our kid's a pervert. It was nothing like that. It was just like, no, I mean, she's like becoming a woman at 13, and at 11 I was like not even like, I could barely fucking think. I was so fucking, I was like an organism. Like, I see kids now, they grow up much faster, they're much more intelligent. I didn't know what was going on. Right? But I did know this. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that everything was going to change once we got out of the house. And I had no idea what it was going to be, but I knew I was enjoying the idea of the journey, but I was scared shitless, and I was right to be scared because it's scary out there. There's no, like, when you don't have a blueprint, like, go to college. Are you kidding me? Dude, I knew I wasn't going to go to college. I had to figure something out. The military was the only way for me, and I knew I had enough athleticism, just enough that I could do the stuff that you had to do in boot camp. Because we haven't talked about this, and we won't talk too much right now, but like, I was a really good runner It just so happened to be a sport that was really easy for me. Long distance running. I was really good at it, because anybody could be good at it, but we were good to the point where we were winning like medals and stuff. We ran in like a league, as a little league. I was good at basketball too, but eventually people were out jumping me and outrunning me, and just I was too short. And then I just remember, like, you got to be tall to play basketball. That's what I remember. Because you don't really, but you really do. Unless you're like Steve Nash, who has like super sick ability. I've noticed at one point that I wasn't the fastest kid anymore. That's why I ran long distances, because I could keep running and I could beat you. But like initially, like I couldn't start fast. I just was able to keep it going. I had good stamina, and so that helped. By the time we got into the military, we had boot camp, and I noticed we could outlast a lot of people. So we were like able to. Nobody really bothered me, drill instructor wise, until we got to the shooting part, because I'd never shot a gun before, and I've talked about this on stream before. I was so bad at shooting that some of the kids in the platoon wanted to beat me up because my scores weren't good and it was affecting the rest of the platoon. Fuck, that thing keeps getting me every time. I will not stand for that. No. So finally, it was like, I think rifles, M16s was like a certain, I want to say it might have been a month long. It was a long time, because they give you instructions and they talk you through it, and you gotta like practice holding a gun and practice. A lot of practice goes into it, and then they want to make sure that you're not crazy. So there's some like sort of tests they do, kind of make sure that you're not going to try to shoot other people. Because dude, we had just been through like an intense boot camp. Was very intense, and there was a lot of kids that didn't make it past the training. So when I tell you that I was in the military for about 3.5 to 4 years, I got out early, but it wasn't because of it wasn't boot camp. It was just because I was just done. Like I had been in Japan, I was in California, and I was just like, this is going nowhere. And it was much like when I was a kid, I could see the future was like, oh shit, we're gonna have to actually get like a real job, and like I don't know what the fuck, but I was ready to do it. And so I quit them. I basically got myself kicked out of the military. But I had already been in there for almost 4 years. I will tell the story of that. So I did boot camp, and we got through boot camp. Man, we gotta move fast here. Damn it! Why is this so hard? Okay, we're gonna tell the story after we get through this part, because it is a cool story, and it's actually an amazing story. It's funny too. It's fun and funny. It's got all the elements of like a really good story, and it tells the story of Van Pebble, because Van Pebble was not always this guy you see before you. There we go. Hopefully we can make it through this. Oh yes. Oh no. All right, we're not ready to tell the story yet, because I got to get through that part. I can't just die there every time. It's ridiculous. Come on. Come on. So close. I did enjoy some, before we tell the story, because it really involves from boot camp, and then I'll tell you what happened. We had an office hours, which is like a court-martial thing. That was funny, actually. The office hours is like the funny part of the story. It looks like we got to move fast to get through this part. So we'll just like, there we go. It looks like we did it. Okay, cool. I was wondering why that was so hard. So we weren't moving quick enough. Dude, is it just me, or is that really hard? All right, I feel good now. I can tell the story though. Jesus Christ, it's really not okay. Here's what it was. So when I went into boot camp, I did it and I got it through. I did it pretty much with flying colors. It wasn't really that hard, actually. I was surprised because I was in the Marines, and it was actually like the hardest part, really. I'm trying to think, was there anything hard? Here's the thing. I already knew that the drill instructors were basically like actors. I knew that they couldn't really touch us or hurt us, and I just didn't feel like they were going to do anything really. So to me, that was all kind of funny. It was like professional wrestling, which I already knew was fake even back then. So I was never really bothered or worried about the drill instructors, and it was intense, people yelling in your face. But I had the athletic thing down to a T, that I knew I could run all the miles, and I could make it through the grueling push-ups and pull-ups. Like, I was a kid, dude. I was at the peak of my physical growth. I could eat a whole pizza and you couldn't tell. Like, I just didn't have a belly. I was just lucky that I was just in good shape, and it was easy for me to get through boot camp. All right, even mentally, like, it just wasn't hard. So that's the good part of this story. It was very fucking easy. And then, like, I took their little like test, and like I ended up doing. I'm not great at tests, so I ended up getting average scores, and they wanted me to be a field radio operator. So in order to do that, I had to go to a special school for field radio operators, and it was in this field radio operator school. And I guess we're talking... Actually, no, there was 2 schools I had to go to. So let me tell the story. So I got through boot camp, easy peasy. Graduated, fucking what's next? You know what I mean? And then there was 2 different classes I had to go through. One was my MOS school, but before MOS was military... like grunt training. It was like a grunt school. Yeah, like when you're a Marine, you're not only like a soldier, whatever your job is, but you're always a soldier. You're always like a foot soldier, like no matter what. Not every military service is like that. When you're talking about like the Navy, you're talking about the Army is kind of, but like they jump out of planes and shit. Like our thing isn't like their thing is airborne kind of Army. Our thing is when it comes down to it, give us a gun and we'll get in there for you and we'll shoot. Which is I was gonna tell that story about my my rifles. It was really bad. By the time people wanted to like beat my ass, and by the time I'll tell that quickly. So I ended up obviously passing with flying colors, but it did take me a heartbeat. I was having trouble with it, and I wasn't good at it, and some guys wanted to kick my ass, and da-da-da-da-da. Bottom line is, what I ended up doing is, miraculously, the pressure it was my first taste of pressure as an adult, and I liked it. I liked the flavor of it. I thought, okay, we could do this. Like, I could do everything else physically. It's just a gun. We'll figure this out. And we ended up just locking in, basically aiming for the target. And I don't know if someone cheated for me. Is that possible? I don't think so. We ended up doing fairly well, to the point where by the end of it, I was passing with flying colors, and the guy who was my drill instructor, his name was Sergeant Powers. He talked like this, and he went, "How the fuck did you do that? What did you do? Get a bunch of pebbles and rocks and throw it?" Hey, maybe I couldn't lie and tell people that's how I came up with Van Pebble, but it's not. But he did say that. I remember saying, "We get a bunch of rocks." Probably didn't say pebbles. I can't imagine Sergeant Powers saying pebbles. Anyway, so we passed that. That was that. We passed through flying colors, and we had to do this military school, and it was in California, and it was basically like, I want to say that it was the boot school, like where we learned how to be more of like a soldier. And while I was there, these two kids were stealing things from other kids. So we all live in a barracks, and these kids were stealing, and I saw them stealing it. So I told somebody, and I wasn't the only one who saw it, and the kids got caught. And they take that stuff seriously. Like in the military, if you like, once you pass that boot camp shit and you're a Marine, you're theirs. And then when you do something wrong, like if you do something in public, they can kind of have your back a little bit, depending on how bad it is. But if you steal something, and I would imagine if you stole something even like from a store, you get in a lot of trouble because you're a soldier now, especially overseas. So we ended up seeing these two kids stealing stuff, and I ended up having to stay there for like 6 months. So my time as a Marine was extended. Instead of me going right into my first place that I would be stationed, which would be Japan, instead of just going right to Japan, we had to stay in California for 6 extra months. So my boot camp was like almost a year long. Like it was just really long. So by the time I finally did get out of the military, I had already served my fucking time of like 4 years because I had spent so much time. And here's the thing that was shitty, and the reason why I turned sour, because before I even became a Marine, like we went through boot camp, and at that point people are still calling you boot, right? Doesn't that sound cruel? It is, because you were still technically, you hadn't been to a station yet. You were still kind of, we had gotten out of boot camp and we were ready to do our like military training for like foot soldiers. But because we were held back for 6 months for this trial, we weren't doing anything but just hanging out. We were literally hanging out. We had no MOS. We didn't have anything. I want to say we weren't even doing our job. So for 6 fucking months, it dragged on. And by that time, people were calling us boot, and they were being like disrespectful to us. And we were just like, when is this going to fucking finally? And we weren't gaining any rank, because you can't really gain rank when you're not even in, like, when you're not stationed anywhere. It was really weird. And it was really like, it was just a bad experience for me. Like, had things been different, I might still be in the military to this day. But the way that, because we caught those kids stealing, and then those kids didn't even get charged for it really, and those kids I think I became friendly with those kids, because we were actually bunking with the kids that stole stuff. And one of them was a really, really cool guy. The other guy was okay. The one guy was really cool. So we're friends. And then I'm starting to think, am I an asshole for telling on these guys? This guy's actually a cool guy. You just go through a lot of stuff. Like, it's good because it did grow me up. I mean, I grew up, but it was like a really shitty viewpoint of the military. And yeah, that's how that went. It was very interesting, and that's, I like to tell that story. And then, so by the time we finally got to we went to MOS school, which was field radio operator, 2531 field radio. And by the time I finally got into my first station, which was Japan, we were stationed at, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was this real fancy island, a fancy name. It might have been Fatima. I can't remember. It's been a while, guys. So, you know, you go to Japan, you're there for a year with dating chicks, because that's what you do when you're 19. You try to hook up with girls. And I'm a girlfriend guy, so we got girlfriends. Girl's name was Kazuyo. She was beautiful, beautiful girl. She had other boyfriends, which I found out later. Duh. Like, come on, we're just like, who cares? Like, leave her alone, you know. I defend her now. Like, I defend what she did. I don't blame her. And she was a hot chick, dude. Wow. She had big tits. She was great, dude. Kazooie was awesome. So finally, Japan. I was like happy to be there. I loved Japan. I was there for a full year. Somewhere within the middle of the year, we became goofballs. And I will say, I was in my comfort zone. I was fun. I was Van Pebble. Like, I would say if I was anything close to what I feel like I am in my closer to my final form than I am now, it was that time period. I was comfortable. I was wearing a uniform. I wasn't happy about that. I was a kid. I wanted to have hair. But my hair was always shitty anyway. I never understood what to do with hair. And I was happy. And I don't want to say it like this, but like, I was sort of the leader of a group of guys. And we were just fun-loving, party-going, happy-go-lucky motherfuckers. We didn't even like going to work because you didn't do anything at work. You cleaned radios. So I'd go to, here's what a day at work would look like. Field radio operator. You go to this barracks with a couple of those really cool looking Jeeps, and it was a room full of radios. And you'd grab a radio, and you'd grab some Q-tips and some erasers. I remember there being erasers. And you would clean the radios, and that's all you did for 8 hours a day. And I remember, and we would have meetings too, because so here's I think I can tell this part. Am I allowed? Okay, if I'm saying something wrong, I apologize. We were part of a Stinger missile crew. There was this crew of guys that were like these muscular dudes. They were like basically like the athlete guys. And they were part of we were part of their, actually. We were the field radio operators that were part of their Stinger missile crew. And basically what a Stinger missile was, let's see if I can find a Stinger missile. It would be really cool if you guys could see what a Stinger missile is. Stinger missiles. There we go, the FIM, well, let's see if this is close to what we had. I'm sure it's changed. So basically, this is what it is. We were stationed with these guys. We were basically part of these guys. And basically what this is it's a missile that takes down helicopters. And what these guys would do is they would take these missiles, and I was a field radio operator, so I had to learn how to use the missile as well. I don't remember ever really learning it. But we would go to a lot of meetings with these guys, and we would just sit back and do nothing because it was really about them. It was about the Stinger missile, and can you hold an extra missile, an extra battery, this and that. It had really nothing to do with us. But I remember these guys becoming friendly with us, and so there was a weird mixture of field radio guys, which were kind of like me, and I was skinnier back then. I'm like bigger guy now, and we were goofballs and we were funny, and some of the guys felt intimidated by our humor. Like, we were just like a bunch of cut-ups, you know. It sounds silly now, but this is the way it was. And those guys were like athletic. Like, some of those guys actually had like they were into guns, and they were into like missiles and shit. Like, they were real soldiers. And here we were just being jokey. Some of them liked us, some of them didn't like us, and we ended up having problems with a lot of the guys that were more serious about their job. And just a lot of craziness ensued. Oh, this is cool. Look at this. So yeah, we had a lot of we had a lot of guys that didn't like us. And I ended up, one day this is the story. So we got drunk a lot during the day. I didn't have problems with. Oh, that maze is like shorter, and that was okay. So the mazes have changed up officially now. This is cool. I like the look of these mazes a lot too. Oh, you can't go up there? You can't go up on the wooden part? You can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You can. Yes, you can. So this is the part where I got office hours. And this is sort of where things changed for me a little bit, and I started wanting to get out of the military at this point, because I realized, like, I was a cut-up, I was a goofball, and I fancied myself as, like, a funny guy, and I guess I thought I was wasting my time in the military, and maybe we could do something that would, I still didn't know. Probably this would have been right up my wheelhouse, but gaming wasn't a thing in the 90s. You're talking 94, 96. So here's what happened. Oh, look at that thing. I love it. This is cute. And there's no like little like blades. There's no little blades that are trying to get us at this point. So this is kind of a fun. This is cool. I like this. 51. We're on Maze 51. By the way, guys, this game is called Marble Trap, and it's a fucking great game. And this music is the actual game music, which is cool. It's like generic, non-copyright guitar riff, guitar shred, shredding guitar. Ah! Okay. So before we talk about that, let's get through this. And I've never talked about this stuff before, which is what you want to do. You don't want to be the guy that talks about the same shit. It's a good time to talk about it though, because I'm 50 years old. I feel like I have a good... a lot of time has come and gone. You know, when I first would tell these stories, I remember I told a story the guy thought was great, but I was only like in my 20s, and I still felt like, I always feel like I'm not old enough to tell that story. I should tell these stories when I'm older, because it's not a joke anymore. Now it's just a story. But what ended up happening, I guess we could tell it from that context. So, office hours. We ended up going to the brig. How did it happen? How did I get into the brig? A guy that was not a bad guy. Well, me and my crew, and we, by the way, we were so cool. We weren't corny at all. I felt, even to this day, I would say, we were legit funny, cool guys. We didn't think of ourselves, we didn't give ourselves like, man, we're so cool. Like, we would shoot the shit out of each other. We'd take the piss out of each other, as the Brits say. We were cool, legit cool guys, self-depreciating cool guys. But what ended up happening was we would drink during the day. Okay, so we would day drink. And I wasn't like, I didn't have an alcohol problem or anything. It's just what we did. You could see guys that were going to have problems in the future, but, you know, back then it was like we'd buy, like, at lunchtime, we'd buy like a 24 pack, and we would party, because we didn't have, our jobs were so unsatisfying that a lot of us just felt like, let's just get drunk, and then we'll go to work, and we'll fucking, like, somehow get through that, and we'll come home, and we'll party. And we were kids, and that's what a lot of kids do anyway. I'm not defending it, I'm just saying it is what it is. So one day, we're drinking beer in the afternoon, and it's lunchtime, and we have no business, I have no business drinking this much anyway, and I'm fucking shit-faced. And there's something called a flight line. Here's what a flight line is. Let me show you guys the flight line in Japan, Futima. So a flight line is basically, when you want to go to work, you'd have to walk through like what looked like a track. It was the flight line. It's where all like it's basically where the planes are constantly coming in and out. What would you call it? What is that called? Where the planes park their planes? So it's the flight line is where you can walk as a human. It's a line where you can walk. It's the flight line. It makes sense as I'm even saying flight line. And we had to take the flight line to get to work every day. Our barracks would go through, we'd have to walk through outside and then walk through the flight line to get to where you were trying to go to your base. So in our case, to our job site. So I'm walking the flight line, and as I'm walking, it kind of looks like a track almost. I was fucking drunk as shit, and I don't even remember. I just remember walking really fast and being silly and being loud and being obnoxious. And there was this guy that was a staff sergeant that nobody seemed to like this guy. And like I said, people liked me. They thought I was like the fun party guy. And I was walking through the flight line, and this guy tried to stop me. And he's like, "Stop, Marine." I was like, "Get the fuck out of my way, you fucking midget." I'm saying all this shit that we had said about this guy behind his back. I'm saying it now drunk. So, as you can see, it doesn't go well. The guy ends up like, they end up finding me somehow, and I end up making it back to the, I don't know if they threw me in a car. I don't really remember, guys. I was really not in a good place. I was in a good place, but like, I was drunk, and so a happy drunk. But at this point, like, I'm starting shit with this staff sergeant, and it ended up being this whole thing. And I ended up getting an office hours, which is like basically a court date. And the office hours was silly. I remember using the reference of Nuprin, which is this pill, and the advertisement of the Nuprin was little, tiny, yellow Nuprin. That was the advertisement. So when I was in the court, they asked me what I took, because they were like, "You were doing more than drinking, Marine. You were taking something." And I go, I do remember. It was some kind of a medication. It was little, it was tiny, and it was yellow. And everybody's laughing, and you know, I mean, I'm just telling you what happened. People were like snickering. I mean, it was a court-martial, so people weren't like laughing out loud. But I, in my mind, people were cracking up, and because people told me later we were cracking up, but really they were just going like that. Okay. So I ended up getting court-martialed. I had to go to the brig. I did 18 days in the brig for good behavior. I think I was sentenced for a month. And the whole time I was in there, I was just like, I just realized that I didn't want to be a Marine anymore. And I didn't feel like I was a Marine. I just felt like I was this goofball guy. And I wanted to like just get into the real world and figure out what I was really going to do. Because I just didn't feel like this was my place. And so they eventually I got out of the brig. I got stationed. And the funny thing is when when I was in the brig, there was a Staff Sergeant Pittard. I think he was still a sergeant at the time. Sergeant Pittard, and Sergeant Pittard hated me because I was the goofball guy, I was the funny guy, and they didn't like those guys, which I can understand, actually, now. Looking back, I think Sergeant Pittard was a douchebag, but I do agree with what he was thinking, though. But he was a douche, though. He was a dickhead. But he was still right, and he ended up being somehow one of the guys that was the sergeants in the brig at the time. I don't know if he requested it, but he ended up being one of the guys that I saw while I was in the brig. And they wanted to make it like miserable for me, and they did. They did a nice job. Congratulations. Oh no, am I stuck here? I'm stuck here, much like I was. This reminds me of when I was in... I'm kidding, get out of there. You gotta jump that, alright. So, yeah, we gotta get a little pace, a little speed here. There you go. So that kind of led to Sergeant Pittard, and then when my first sergeant came to visit me, I was just like pretending that I was having a good time. Like I just was trying to let these guys know, like, I want to go. It kind of reminded me, I don't know if anyone's ever seen MASH, but I was basically like those guys. Like I was like, get me out of here. I was like Klinger without wearing women's clothing. As a matter of fact, I never would do that but there was a time when there were guys doing that. There were guys that wanted to get out of the military so bad that they were dressed as girls. Now, this is before it became, the whole trans thing was not a thing. I'm telling you, I know for a fact, I know what you're going to say. Of course there were trans people. Yeah, I just never saw them in the military in the 1990s. At least not in the early 1990s. And if you did, you were trying to get out. You were trying to pull a clinger, which is the guy from MASH. And you were trying to get out. All right, let's get out. Let's do this. So, I remember specifically there was like one or two guys that were dressing up as girls but you could see that they were miserable because they didn't really want to dress up like a girl. They were just doing hits. And people were like, Because even in the show MASH, they were like, they knew Klinger was full of shit. He wasn't really he didn't really dress up like a girl. I mean, he did, but like, he wasn't really a girl. He didn't really think he was a girl. He didn't feel like, I'm a man in a woman's body. Like, that, in that day, if you said that, it was a joke. If you said back in the day, I'm a man trapped in a woman's body, everybody would laugh and people would go, that's funny. You should dress up like that for Halloween. That would be funny. And that was it. And that was the conversation. And then when it happened in real time, people were like, oh, we got to be careful because there was a time when people were doing that, like Klinger. I think the guy's name was Klinghoffer. And they called him Klinger, something like that. So, like, when that really happened, it actually now, it's weird to a lot of people. I shouldn't say weird. It's, we remember that being like a joke or something you did to try to get out of the military, or you would try to discount yourself. Like, the government, if you were in a government job, all you had to do is just be like, hi, I feel like a woman. I'm going to dress like a woman today. Okay, you're gone. Like, that was it. It wasn't like, oh, like, that's how he feels. Like, because honestly, I believe people when they say that they think they're women and they think they're men, and it just wasn't a psychology. It wasn't an acceptable thing back then. Now we understand it and we're learning to live with it. And that's how people feel, and that's okay. It wasn't an acceptable thing back then. Right or wrong, that's just the way it was. So anyway, yeah. And that's pretty much the whole story. Did the office hours, did the time, got through it with Sergeant Pittard. He was kind of rough. Like, I remember trying to do like push-ups and stuff, and they were like, what are you doing, Marine? And I'm like, do push-ups, sir. He goes, no, you're not doing anything. You're going to use this time to just sit there, and you want to read? You can read books, but you're not doing anything fun. Exercise, that's too fun for you. No, we're going to punish you. So that was my office hours. And then, like I said, my first sergeant came to visit me, and they realized that I was just like gaffing off, which is how they said things back then, gaffing. And I wasn't really trying, and that I was a lost cause. So that by the time I got to California from Japan, like I said, I did all my time in Japan. I did like a year or so in Cali, and they wanted me there. I think I was supposed to be there for like a couple years, and I was like, I don't want to I liked California, but I was like, I don't want to fucking be in the military. And then eventually I just had a conversation with one of the big guys, like I think it was probably a first sergeant, and I said, look, here's the deal. I don't want to be here. You guys were better off just let me go. I'm just going to be a problem for you. I'm going to do more silly stuff. I'm just going to be a joker. And if you guys really just want to get rid of me, just let me get out of here. Let me get out of your way. Send me home. And I won't do anything silly. I'm not going to dress up as a girl like these other guys are doing. Just give me a break. And eventually I think the guy was like, all right, let me talk to your mother. Because I was still a kid. I mean, I was still like, 22 years old or 21, 22. I was about 22 at that point, almost 22. They were like, look, this guy's been in longer. They understood my situation. Like, boot camp didn't go well. We saw somebody rob somebody. We ended up getting punished for the guys that robbed somebody. And so after he told the story, the guy's like, all right, that makes sense. Let's get your ass out of here. And so I ended up getting out other than honorable discharge. And he goes, don't worry, it's going to change to honorable after like a couple years or whatever. Just like, we just need to make sure that you're going to just like leave and not cause trouble. So I think I had like a month or two left and they let me go. And basically it turned out to be 4 years anyway, which, you know what I mean? So that was what I was supposed to do in the military, was 4 years. That's my story. Oh, it's a long story, guys. Let's do a couple more mazes and then we'll get out of here. The game, guys, is Marble Trap. And it's a perfect game. It's maybe the most perfect game ever made. Ooh. Oh, all right, this is going to be the last one here. Let's get through level 59. I actually wanted to have a nice long stream with this game because I felt like I wasn't getting through enough mazes. And I wanted to have one stream where I just burn through, like, how many have we done? We started 43, right? So 59, that's decent. It's like 13 of them or something. 16 of them? 43 from 59? 59 minus 43. 59, 43, 6. 16 of them. That's a lot, actually. I figured, like, we'll do, like, 20 of these. That's pretty good, 16 of these. I figured I eventually would get to the boot camp story, you know? I figured it. Because it's kind of my origin story, really. Because Van Pebble, when he got out of high school, he joined the military, and I'm sure a lot of people would be like, why? And was I this real militant guy? And I now that I look back on that, and I'm a security guard now, I look back at those times as like, I wish I would have stayed in, but there was no wartime. It really was like, you felt so safe back then to join the military because we were kicking everybody's ass, the United States military. I mean, we would have a problem one day and it would be over in like a month. And I know there was things that happened and people died and stuff, but like, we were basically kicking people's ass. I mean, America was like the military in the 80s and 90s. I mean, we had Desert Storm. That was a concern for a lot of people, but like, some would say even that, we kind of like came out pretty clean. So for me to join the military, and you know, when I thought about it, I got scared because I was like, holy shit, like I could, if I had to go to war, can I fucking do that? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. I mean, your number's called, you fucking do what you gotta do, you know? But yeah, now, I mean, like now, I'm glad that I joined. I'm proud of myself for joining the military. And like I said, there's a lot of guys who didn't even make it through boot camp. I remember. That wasn't our problem. Our problem wasn't like mental. Well, maybe it was because we were just like, I don't know. Being a security guard is a lot different than being in the military, for sure. And that's what I should have done. I should have just tried to like be the equivalent of like a security guard. But you know what? I'm glad I joined the military, because now when I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, I was in the Marines. You know? And I was. For like 4 years. And look, I meet a lot of these security guards these days. Like, that guy's a fucking security guard? At least I have the military thing under my belt, because these guys are fucking pussies these days. I mean, and girls. I mean, they're literally just like doing it because they thought it was going to be a fucking dream job to do nothing all day. They didn't realize that there is a real job there. And look, we did make it through boot camp. I mean, there was a lot of stuff we had to do. We had the rifle training alone is just like, yeah, that was something. But I mean, I would never, if I was you guys, like, I would never say like, thank you for your service to me. Like, don't say that, because I did leave the fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like, that makes me feel like, all right, well, there's guys who like take it fucking super seriously, and those guys are devil dogs, and those guys you could be like, thank you for your service. Like, I'm not going to sit here and front on it. You're not going to have streams where I'm celebrating, you know, some kind of a military day that everybody celebrates, and I'm like, celebrate me, guys. Like, I'll never do that, you know. I'll always put a little hashtag on it. But I'm a special guy. I've always said there's something a little different about old Van Pebble. And it is cool that, like, my military story has a little bit of a caveat on it. I always find that to be kind of cool. And it's not like we run around telling everybody we were in the military. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the stream. Thanks for watching. Let's get out of here. We're on maze number 60, which is great. And guys, we made it through another week of streaming. I gotta tell you, that was a fun week. I enjoyed it. I look forward to next week. Next week's going to be a great week. We're going to have great streaming next week. We're going to do more card openings next week. We're going to play way more. Next week, meaning Monday, the end of this weekend, we're going to be back and we're going to be doing games. Way more games. I promise you more games. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be playing games that we started that I want to see us level up on, like Rocky and Pocky, or Pocky and Rocky. A very arcadey game. We're going to play the game we just played now. We're going to be playing lots more video games next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us, or at least coming in and watching us. This is a part of the stream. It's the end, guys. This is a part of the stream. The end of the stream. And it's the part where I advertise my stuff. My Twitter is Van Pebble on Twitter. As you can see, we talk about Joe Rogan. We don't actually. I think I said poor Joe Rogan. He picked one place in America that banned THC use recreationally. Yeah, I saw that Texas is making recreational pot illegal. And I find it really funny that Joe Rogan lives there. Like, he just moved there like a year or two ago. So this is what I imagine he's doing. This is what I imagine he looks like all the time now. And so Van Pebble is on Twitter, just being clever and just being that silly guy that he was in the military. There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, you can donate money to Thomas Palvino, who is also Van Pebble. At Thomas Palvino, no spaces in between. Thomas Palvino on PayPal. And ladies and gentlemen, you can donate money to me there. And we'll use it for cheeseburgers, and we'll use it for games. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, Van Pebble is on YouTube, and he's putting videos out all the time. And this is how he does it. He takes a video and he puts it out there. We have 39 subscribers. We need more subscribers. We're also putting videos out every fucking week. At least like 8 videos a week. Take it, enjoy it. Go ahead, it's all right already. Take it and enjoy it. Enjoy it. And we're going to put more videos up next week as well. Van Pebble, YouTube. Follow, go to the video, watch a video, like it. If you're watching the video, just hit like. It helps. It gets me involved with algorithms and stuffs. And then if you're liking it, you can also subscribe. And I take subscriptions very seriously. As far as when I subscribe to somebody, it's because they keep putting stuff out, and I don't want to subscribe to somebody that's not trying. Some of these guys, they're not even trying. Van Pebble is trying, and because of that, I want people to subscribe to my channel, because you're gonna get like this week, you're getting like 6 to 7 videos. They're each like an hour to 2 hours long. It's me playing, and whatever I'm doing, I'm giving 100%. So please, ladies and gentlemen, that's the ad. And now, guys, the hardest part. The part where I leave the stream. It's gotta happen. Can't stay here forever. This stream is not sponsored by Rockstar. Thank you, Rockstar. We drank fruit punch today. I'd like to thank everyone who came, watched. Thank you for supporting my channel and my dreams. And just be good to yourself, and we'll talk to you later. We'll let the music play a little bit longer. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later. Peace. I'm out of here. Bye.